Ho, 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 ho.
Hey everyone, Killer Sci-Fi Action Movie Reviews here. Christmas. It's that one time of the year where everybody's supposed to come together and be with the ones they love the most and celebrate the holidays with one another. But instead, Christmas is a holiday mess. It puts itself way before Halloween, way before Thanksgiving, and then once Christmas does arrive, you feel all holidayed out because you've pretty much been celebrating it since October, with the first Black Friday commercial showing up on your TVs, or when Target decides to make a "What will you do for Christmas?" I don't know, I kind of want to wait before Christmas. I want to enjoy these other holidays. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about Frosty the Snowman. Frosty was based off of his song back in the 1950s, and then would get a book, a straight to TV movie, a sequel to that movie. He would team up with Rudolph, and then he would get a reboot in 2005 called The Legend of Frosty that was a straight to DVD home movie. And it got product placement by Applebee's. I got 3 of these, I don't know why. But I'm not here to talk about that. Today I'm going to be talking about the first movie that came out in 1969 called Frosty the Snowman. We start the movie off on Christmas Eve at a schoolhouse where we see a bunch of children gathered up by the window looking at the snow. They want to go out, but the teacher, however, doesn't want them to go out just yet because they still need to celebrate their holiday Christmas party, which she gets a terrible magician named Professor Hinkle, who is the worst magician who can't even pull a simple rabbit out of the hat. He throws his hat away because he thinks it's the problem why he can't do magic, thinking it's just a piece of garbage. Well, once that bell rings, all those school kids go coming and trampling him over. You darn kids thinking that frozen water's more interesting than my magic tricks! Once the kids go outside, they start playing the snow like what normally kids do in the snow, like snowball fights, snow angels, and etc. All the kids from the class, however, start to build a snowman. They come up with some pretty creative names for however old they are. They never specifically say how old they are. But they decide to go with Karen's name, Frosty. The most generic name for a snowman anyone could ever think of. That's what I called all my snowmen when I was growing up. You know, for a name like Frosty, he would have been a great sponsor for Frosted Flakes. Hinkle's rabbit, Hocus, was hopping outside with the hat, and a gust of wind just blows the hat right off him onto Frosty's head. It brings him to life, and he yells, "Happy birthday!" All the kids, including Hinkle, were shocked that he came to life. Karen's yelling, "He can talk!" Me, if I was there, I would have said the same thing, but in a more yelling voice, getting a baseball bat and whacking his head right off. I am very violent. None of that matters though, because when Karen had to point out the obvious, saying that how it was magic, Hinkle decides, hey, that hat's mine, I'm taking it back, I want it. I threw it away, but I still want it. After a gust of wind blows the hat right off of Frosty's head, Hinkle takes it back and the kids start to object by it, but he says once they grow up, they realize that snowmen don't talk. So he just goes back into town, walking on casually until his rabbit Hocus steals the hat right off his head and replaces it with a Christmas wreath. Hocus runs back to the schoolyard, giving the hat to the children so they can place the hat right back on Frosty's head. Everyone is amazed that he comes back to life. He yells happy birthday again. And he just shocked himself. He's just like, am I alive? I can walk. I can jump. I can juggle. Okay. I can count to 10. 1, 2. I can speak basic English. I don't know how. Him and the kids are all having fun in the schoolyard until Frosty starts to get hot. He's sweating a lot and he asks if he can see a thermometer. And once he sees the outside thermometer, he's like, oh, I don't like red thermometers. When they get really red, I become all slushy. How would you know that? You were just born today. So the kids decide the only way for Frosty not to melt is to take him to the North Pole. They parade through town where all the citizens are like, that's a walking snowman. They eventually come up on a traffic cop who yells for them to stop. He's yelling at Frosty saying, "Did you not see that stoplight?" Frosty, "What's a stoplight?" "On the lamppost." "What's a lamppost?" Okay, you know what a thermometer is. You know what a birthday is. You know how to count and juggle. Oh, and there's the fact that you know basic English. So Karen just wants to make the case, you have to excuse him, officer. He was just born today. What kind of excuse is that? He knows everything else, but he doesn't know other stuff? The kids and Frosty eventually make it to the train station where they ask the guy behind the counter for a ticket to the North Pole. They can't afford it, however, because it costs $3,000 and they have no money. I mean, what were they expecting when they were denied? Did they think they were just going to get a discount? Well, we're kids. We got a walking snowman. There must be some type of discount to go to a completely different continent. But then they see a refrigerated boxcar on a train that's heading north. To the North Pole? Who knows? But they sneak on. Well, we tried doing this the legal way. Frosty asks Karen if she's going to come to the North Pole too, and she said, sure, as long as I'm home for dinner. I don't think you'll make it home for dinner on time if you're thinking you're going to go to a different continent and back, because that's going to take days or hours, especially by train. So probably days. The train leaves and we see Professor Hinkle, forgot he was even in this movie, at the back of the caboose because he wants to try to steal that hat. But once the train's been going for a few hours, Frosty starts to notice that Karen's catching a cold, so they get off at the next stop. Hinkle didn't know this, so he's still stuck on the train, yelling at Frosty, saying, "I'll get that hat!" How he yells, I feel like he's related to Elmer Fudd. "I'll get that wascally wabbit!" Frosty and Hocus takes Karen through the woods to try to find a place for her to get all warm. Because that doesn't sound weird at all. A kidnapped child being led through the woods by a snowman that just came to life today, and a rabbit that knows how to play charades. They eventually stumble upon the forest animals from Sleeping Beauty, decorating for Christmas because they know Santa's coming. How they know this, honestly, who knows? But they ask the animals if they can make a fire for Karen, and they happily comply. Frosty told Hocus to stay with the forest animals so when Santa arrived, he can help Karen go back home. Frosty keeps his distance from the fire, but once Hinkle shows up and blows the fire out so Karen can't stay warm, Frosty comes up to try to help her. Hinkle tries to steal the hat, however, so Frosty tells Karen to get on his back, and he's belly sliding down mountains to get away from a guy who trips every 5 feet. Karen and Frosty make it to a greenhouse full of poinsettias, and Frosty carries Karen in there so she can stay warm. Since Hinkle makes it there, shuts the door behind them, and locks the door. Why the door locks on the outside and on the inside beats me, but they're locked in. Santa finally arrives and Hocus leads them to the campsite, but when they realize they're not there, they follow the trail that Frosty made to the greenhouse, but they made it too late because Frosty's already been melted. Santa tells Karen not to worry. Frosty was made out of Christmas snow, which is just rainwater recycled throughout the seasons. He opens the greenhouse door, which a gust of wind comes in, taking the puddle and Frosty's facial features, making the snowman outside. How wind can form a snowman, I don't know. But when Santa tries to put the hat back on top of Frosty's head, Hinkle comes out of nowhere saying he wants his hat back, but Santa says, if you try taking that hat off of Frosty's head, I will never bring you a Christmas present again. He's a grown adult, he can buy his own presents. Santa told Hinkle if you wrote the words, "I am very sorry what I did to Frosty 100 zillion times," he might bring him a present. I looked that number up, and that's impossible to write that many sentences in one night. I can't write a sentence 100 times, let alone 100 zillion. I didn't even know what that number was till I looked it up. After Hinkle leaves, Santa puts the hat back on top of Frosty's head. Frosty comes back to life yelling, "Happy birthday" for the final time. So they take Karen home, and Karen hugs him because she doesn't want to leave, and Frosty just tells her he'll be back again next year. And that was Frosty the Snowman. It had its flaws, especially with the voice acting and lip syncing. The voice acting was and the lip syncing, when the character talked, the lips never really moved. But then again, what can you expect? This animated film came out back in the 1960s. This was at the end of the 1960s period and the beginning of the 70s period. But it's a nice classic to watch every Christmas. Would you want to watch it every day before Christmas? It depends. Me, I would watch it once every December. I'm not really into holiday specials. I watch it once every year, and that's pretty much it for me. Because holiday specials to me is mostly meant for kids, and this is what this film was. It was meant for kids. The story itself was very childish, but I enjoyed it when I was growing up, and I'm actually glad because I actually got this box set. It's a collector's edition of every classic holiday special with Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Rudolph, Frosty, and what's the little drummer boy? I don't know, but anyway, I still think this film is a pretty decent film, especially what time period came in. But it's nice to see every year on just on a TV station like ABC or Freeform. But if I'd have to rate this movie, I would give it 3 out of 5 snowflakes. But anyways, this is Caleb from Sci-Fi Action Movie Reviews, wishing you to have a happy holidays. And if you want to get the movie yourself, you can get it at Walmart, Vintage Stock, or Target on DVD and Blu-ray. You can also watch it by streaming or digital download at Amazon Prime Video, YouTube, or Vudu. Well, that's all for today. Have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Bye, everyone. To see more content like this, why don't you subscribe to my channel? And see the latest video, click right there. And to see a playlist of my 50s and 90s music, click right there.